It is one of my strongest beliefs that everyone who can should take up a martial art and learn basic self-defense, whether it's to protect yourself or someone else from physical harm, if or when the time comes. I think to a lot of people, and I used to think this way, it seems like a trivial skill that you'll never actually need in the modern world until you're actually thrust into a situation where your ability to defend yourself is the only thing that matters. Not only that, but I just think that learning a martial art is very good for you as a person. So today I want to talk about my experience with Jiu-Jitsu. Now, I've been going to Jiu-Jitsu classes for about 10 months now. I mean, I did take 3 months off when I went traveling, so it's more like 7 months, but it's been massively beneficial to me, and I have already had to use it in a real life situation. That's something we'll get into later. Now, I want to make it clear, I'm not trying to discount other martial arts like boxing or kickboxing, Muay Thai or Judo, to name but a few. And neither am I trying to suggest that, Jiu-Jitsu is the #1 martial art. In fact, I think in a lot of situations, stand-up striking is more useful, especially in street fights where you've been attacked by multiple people. I would encourage people to take up any martial art, and ideally a mixture of, stand-up striking and wrestling and jiu-jitsu and judo is the perfect combination. But one martial art up your sleeve is 1,000,000 times better than zero. So today I just want to talk about jiu-jitsu because it's something that I have experience in, and I want to explain why I love it so much and why I'd recommend it to anyone. Reason number one is it's legit. It is a fantastic martial art to use to defend yourself in real life situations. Now, as I said, against multiple opponents, you're going to want some striking for that, or ideally be an Olympic level sprinter. But the fact is that killers and UFC fighters use jiu-jitsu as a fundamental part of their arsenal. It's legitimate as it comes. Like, if you don't know how to fight and someone who knows jiu-jitsu gets a hold of you, you are in trouble, even with an advanced white belt. See, in boxing, even if you have next to no skill, you might just get a lucky punch on someone. In jiu-jitsu, there is no such thing as a lucky punch. There's no haymaker that you might just fluke. If you can learn jiu-jitsu to a very good level and you can get a hold of someone and take them down, you can essentially just decide what to do with them. It's also a martial art that you can use to stop someone from harming you without really having to necessarily harm them in the process. Like, if you use striking and boxing and you use it, you're going to hurt someone just by using it. If you punch someone in the face, they could hit their head on the concrete and you could do some real damage, and deaths do happen in those situations, even if you were just defending yourself. Whereas jiu-jitsu, that's much more unlikely. Whilst you can choose to do someone a lot of damage, it's actually great for restraining people. So quite recently, I had a situation where I was out with my girlfriend and we'd had quite a bit to drink, and someone got needlessly aggressive with me, completely unprovoked, and he tried to basically pin me against a wall. So because I've practiced jiu-jitsu so much, even 7 pints down, the muscle memory just kicked in. I didn't really have to think about what I was doing, but I managed to grab his wrists so that he couldn't use his hands to attack me, and I closed the distance. I got him kind of in a clinch position, and I managed to maneuver him and kind of force him down onto a chair. So I kind of sat him down onto a chair and just kept hold of his wrists and kind of restrained him so that he couldn't really get up from the chair. And eventually his friends and some bar staff came and split it up, and that was that. And I didn't need to hurt him in any single way. Now, this was not a nice situation, and I wasn't happy that I had to use jiu-jitsu in that situation, and it won't always turn out like that. But without knowing jiu-jitsu in that situation, he was a bigger lad than me. Like, I would have been in a very dangerous situation. I don't know what I would have done or what would have happened if I hadn't known jiu-jitsu. Reason number two is there's a very low risk of training injuries. Jiu-jitsu is a great martial art to learn without much risk of getting seriously hurt. Now, serious injuries do and can happen in jiu-jitsu, but they are mostly fluke accidents where there's just a very fluke landing. If you're getting swept or taken down, maybe you put your hand in the wrong position and like break a finger or a wrist. It's very, very rare in comparison to other martial arts. Boxing and kickboxing are fantastic forms of self-defense, but whilst you're training those, you're likely going to, by nature, get a lot of heavy hits to the face and to the legs and to the body. And look, a lot of people aren't keen on the idea of suffering consistent injuries and heavy strikes whilst they're trying to learn something new and learn to defend themselves. And the beauty of jiu-jitsu is that there are no strikes. There is no risk of head or brain injuries after continued practice whatsoever. Now, with striking training, you can avoid hurting each other, but mostly you'd have to go at like 50% intensity and kind of play around with it and not really connect with the strikes while just, playing around with angles. Now, in jiu-jitsu, you can go full out intensity with your sparring partner every single session, which is going to simulate the intensity and the energy expenditure you're going to use in a real life situation. And you can do it every single time. And you're not going to hurt each other if you do it properly, because when someone is put in a submission that they can't get out of and that's going to hurt them, maybe like snap an arm or choke them out, way before that point, and you realise you can't get out of it, you tap out. So no harm is done if you do it properly. Reason number 3, and I cannot state this enough, jiu-jitsu gyms are filled with good people. Jiu-jitsu gyms, in my experience, are filled with incredibly respectful and down-to-earth people who really want to help you. That culture is created by the lead instructor, and if this isn't the culture at your jiu-jitsu gym that you try, you should leave immediately, because that is 1% of jiu-jitsu gyms, and you should leave that immediately and find a better one, and you will be able to find a better one. People are not going to rough you up or take advantage of you whilst you're new. It just will not happen. Not just because it's the right thing to do, which is the main reason, but because it's actually very helpful to more experienced people to roll with someone completely new and do a drill with them who has no understanding of the drill or jiu-jitsu, and to explain to the new person and just take them through step by step in a very understandable way the drill or the reason we're doing it. It really helps solidifies a more experienced person's understanding of jiu-jitsu. So more experienced people are always willing to help newer people, and if they're not, go to a different gym. And I cannot stress enough, a jiu-jitsu gym is the safest place in the world you could be, because if one person decides to act up or get aggressive, you've got 20 or 30 other men in there who know jiu-jitsu very well, who will put them in their place and sort them out immediately. That person would be beyond screwed. Reason number 4 is it does not matter who you are whatsoever. Everyone at a jiu-jitsu gym is treated with equal courtesy and respect, and equal expectations. It should go without saying anywhere, but just in case it was a concern for you, like it was a bit of a man's club, jiu-jitsu, in jiu-jitsu gyms, it does not matter if you're man, woman, or it doesn't matter race, ethnicity, anything, you are welcome. Women that go to my class are treated completely respectfully. We have a group of girls who are a bit younger that are friends who only kind of roll with each other, and then we have one woman who kind of rolls with the rest of us, and there are no crude or inappropriate jokes made about the fact that we're in close contact with them. It just does not happen. It doesn't matter. They are treated respectfully and just like anyone else. And you know what? Jiu-jitsu gyms are filled with disciplined, active and respectful people, so it's a great place to make friends. Especially if you're in a place where you don't really like your circle of friends and they're kind of holding you down mentality-wise and they're not a great influence on you, find people at jiu-jitsu gyms. There's a really great sense of respect, shared values and community in jiu-jitsu gyms, so if you're looking for more people to hang out with, it's a great place to find people. Or even if you just want to feel like you're part of a community. Reason number 5 is it's a great way to get fit without realising it. Jiu-jitsu is mostly actually a mental game, but it takes a lot of physical effort and it's very tiring. So whilst you're completely mentally focused on what you're doing, you actually don't realise how tired you are often until the end of a roll where you go, oh God, and you're knackered, which is perfect. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't require the same endurance as boxing or just striking sports, but you know, that's because you can get into, if you know what you're doing with jiu-jitsu, you can find little moments to rest while still having control. But it's a great way to push your limits and just have fun in a setting where you're not going to get hurt. Reason 6 is anyone can become great at jiu-jitsu. It's not just about size and strength.
What I say is true. Anyone can cook.
As I said earlier, Jiu-Jitsu is more a mental game than physical. It's not just for big guys with a lot of strength. Now, strength is a valuable tool and so is weight, but any build at all can be advantageous in Jiu-Jitsu if you know what you're doing and how to use it. If you're shorter, it's actually harder to get hold of your limbs for submissions, and you can use more speed and agility as well as more cardio, which is kind of my game. But if you're tall, then you'll have better reach to grab your opponent with, you often have more leverage, and it's a lot easier for you to get in things like triangles where you have to wrap your legs around people. And if you carry more weight, then it's easier for you to smother your opponent when you're on top of them, and you can position yourself in a way that makes it hard for them to breathe whilst you're on top of them, so that really just sucks the energy out of them and it makes them need to move, which can give you an opening, and it also makes you a lot harder to throw off when you're on top of someone. Every body type has its advantage and disadvantage, but it's mainly a mental game. Someone who is 5'4" and a black belt will beat a 6'6" white belt every single time. It's about technique, positioning, adaptability, timing, and muscle memory, and all of that comes through continued rigorous practice. There are no shortcuts. And unlike, for example, again, in boxing, where yes, technique is vital, but ultimately power is power.
Power is power.
I think in Jiu-Jitsu, power matters less, though it does matter. I think it's less important. Reason number 7, progressing and improving at Jiu-Jitsu is incredibly rewarding. Advancing through the belt system in Jiu-Jitsu is incredibly difficult and it takes years. You actually have to be at that level. There's no shortcuts. You don't just get arbitrarily given a blue belt because you've been going to the Jiu-Jitsu gym for 2 years. It doesn't work like that. And you should not take up Jiu-Jitsu just to get belts for vanity so that you can post it on Instagram. If you start Jiu-Jitsu for that reason, you will never stay at it long enough to do that. You should do it because you want to be genuinely that good at Jiu-Jitsu and you want to enjoy the process of improving so that you actually get to that good a level that you are given a purple belt. I'll try and put it this way. You being good enough at Jiu-Jitsu to be a purple or a black belt is a far bigger reward than the belt itself. I can almost definitely promise you, you will never regret the individual act of trying Jiu-Jitsu. It might not be for you, but you'll probably learn something and you'll learn that it's not for you and you'll have gone and tried something at the minimum. And 2 things I've found is that it will allow you to be much calmer and have more control in potentially violent situations. It'll allow you to think clearer in those situations because you're not kind of mentally panicking, your heart's not beating as fast. And it will also, I think, improve your confidence. And also, to be very clear, any Jiu-Jitsu instructor will tell you that the best form of self-defense is running away. Avoid violence at all costs, even if that means backing down. Jiu-Jitsu should be used as a last minute, no other options form of defense in order to defend yourself or someone else when there is no other way to avoid harm to you or someone else apart from Jiu-Jitsu. And look, Jiu-Jitsu, like anything, it's not for everyone, but it could do you no harm to try, and it could just save your life one day. And I think not only that, it definitely will improve it significantly. But if you did enjoy that video or you got anything out of it, that's amazing, and I would really love it if you did want to just hit the subscribe button and give the video a like. It would really help me out and I'd really appreciate it. If not, no worries. But thank you for watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.